Ding.
Welcome to the Real Room. Real people, real challenges, real discussions, real answers. Really, really,
Really?
yes. And today, we are really grateful you're here. We have a very special guest. Lillian's going to give you some information here first, and I'm going to introduce this dear friend.
All right. So we're so thankful that you're tuning in. And as we always mention every time that we do one of these podcasts, we want to make sure that you realize that we have guests that come on and we interview them and a very topical approach with that. But then we also, at times, Mike and I just kind of jump on here and we talk about specific things. So we've covered anger and narcissism, and I think we're going to focus on what's going to be our next one that you were talking about the other day.
Mindset.
Mindset. Okay, so that's probably going to be the next one after our guest today. I just wanted to mention a couple of real quick things. And one is that we have an upcoming event for women in particular here in Southwest Florida. So April the 18th. So we're going to have an experiential conference for women, and it will be out at a ranch. And we met this couple here in Southwest Florida that have just recently started in ministry using equine therapy, so horses. So we'll be out at their ranch. Not that we're going to incorporate that in our experiential time, but you will be introduced to what that's all about. And we will offer that as a possible opportunity for you to participate in the future. So ladies, sign up. And we will be taking registrations on our website. So that's lifecarechristiancenter.org. And if you're interested in everything that's happening here at Aruka, you can look at arukaranch.org. So that's one of the most recent events that we have coming up, April 18th. So sign up.
And more to come.
More to come.
So I would like to introduce our guest and give you a little bio. And I'm going to say, and there's more because there's much more. Alan Smith, welcome. It's the executive
Oh,
director.
what a great last
Yeah,
name.
a little different spelling than mine, but I like the last name.
Oh, that's right. It has a Y.
Executive director for Saving Innocence, which is a anti-trafficking organization based in LA, responsible for the direct sales, business operations, budgeting strategies, partnerships, staff development, and client services. And that in itself is a great bio. But the much more is that he's an author of an extremely powerful book that is how I met him, actually. And this is the book right here. It's Men Fight for Me, The Role of Authentic Masculinity in Ending Sexual Exploitation and Trafficking. This is it. I would highly recommend it. I've got all my markers in here. I'm a confessed bookaholic. So
He is.
a couple
Oh
of
my
years,
goodness.
a couple of years ago on my birthday, I was on Amazon and I saw this pop up. It said Men Fight for Me, and the title just jumped out. It's like, man, what is this? So as I looked at it, I thought this is such a powerful expression of what needs to happen with men. You know, we have this masculinity movement that's going on. Some of that is good, some of it is self-centered, but this really spoke to me about the sacrificial love that we can give to the least and the lost. So all that being said, so when I got the book, I opened it up, and one of the first places I read was Alan, you were saying, I believe you were at a conference somewhere, and you said, as usual, all I had to do was look around for a couple seconds and realize there was no men there, or very few. And I thought the same thing with me. If we do something that may have to do with trafficking, orphans, you know, whatever it may be, there's no men there. So that really,
He's the only testosterone in the room. I don't get it.
yeah. So that really grabbed me. And the book just convicted me very much about my own heart. And not only that, but the stats and the things that are going on just blew me away. So I want to thank you for that. And with that, I just like to ask, how did you get to that point of where you were, you're interested in this? I know you were with Young Life for quite a
I'm
while.
familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
So-
friends in Michigan that are very involved in Young Life and were for many years. But
Yeah. So what led you to let's start there. What led you to Young Life?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a honor to be with you guys in this way. And Mike, you and I have been chatting off and on for a couple years now. So, and I love the fact that the title did what it was supposed to do. For the longest time, the book was just called Fight for Me. We were just kind of working on it. And then we had a consultant say, add the word men to it, and then it'll show up and get the attention of guys like you, Mike. That's exactly what it was. It made me smile back when you told me that you saw the title and it caused you to get the book. That was the whole point of it. But so Young Life, if you're not familiar with Young Life, it's a outreach. They like to call themselves a Christian organization for non-Christian kids. They're reaching
Mhm.
out to kids that are outside the church. Some 90% of all adolescents have no church affiliation, and so that's the target group for Young Life. And so I had started going to Young Life when I was in high school, and became a follower of Christ through Young Life at the Young Life summer camp, and then was a volunteer leader. And I thought to myself, well, what else would I want to do with my life than just, do great Young Life work? And then I found out somewhere in there that uh, you could go on the Young Life staff. It could be a job. And I was blown away, like, wait, what? This could be a job? You're kidding me, right? And so 25 years after that, I was on the Young Life staff for 25 years, and started up in the Bay Area, Northern California, moved down to LA, and in 2001 for another 14 years, and then God started moving the chess pieces around in my life, and I resigned and moved over to Saving Innocence. So I'm sure we could talk about that too. But that's a short story of what I was doing with Young Life.
Yeah. So then Saving Innocence came after that. When did you actually write the book? While you were at Saving Innocence or before that?
Yeah, I had heard about Saving Innocence the year before I left Young Life staff, and one of our staff women said something about it, and I said, I don't get it, never heard of it. What is it? Well, it's child victims of sex trafficking. They're working with child victims of sex trafficking. I said, well, are they in Thailand? How are we going to get involved? I don't understand. Where are they? No, they're right here in Los Angeles.
Your
What?
backyard. Yeah.
And so I was like most people out there, didn't know any idea the scope of the problem, the proximity, how close it was to us, and how big it is in our United States here. Um, so when I left Young Life staff, I cold called the Saving Innocence founder, and we met and heard the 2 or 3 hour story on a 30-minute parking meter outside. So I got a parking ticket on my first exposure to Saving Innocence. But I was
Hmm.
instantly captivated. I'm a dad with a daughter. I have a son as well. Most of the young victims are little girls. And, I was looking for the next thing to do. It wasn't a job interview. It wasn't, that wasn't the purpose of the meeting. I just wanted to hear more of the story. And a couple months later, um, through all the various conversations that happened, it was a surreal moment where I accepted a job offer in a field I didn't know existed 2 months before. I didn't even know that you could do this. So there's certainly more to the story. You can read the book. I go into some detail there to answer your question about the book itself. In about year two of Saving Innocence, year two or three, I was at an awareness event at a church on a Saturday, and some of our staff, our co-author Jessica, who co-authored the book with me, was on a panel, along with our founder, was on this panel, and another woman named Rachel, who tells her story in the book, was on this panel along with some other folks. And I was just there in the audience just to kind of meet people and just be there and support the team that was there doing it. And Rachel telling her story and her trauma journey says in the middle of it says at some point I gave up. I could no longer fight for myself, and then she said with a pause, I needed someone to fight for me. And that lit a fire inside of me. I was already there. I was already in. I was already committed to it. I was still learning about all the nuances of it. But I knew enough to know that most of this problem is caused by broken men. Most of the buyers are men. Most of the sellers are men. Men are the problem. Okay, guys, if you're watching this or hearing this, men are the problem in this. And I saw some little meme on social media. I don't know if it was a joke or an actual study. I just saw it, it caught my eye, and it said 90% of all problems are caused by men. And I chuckled. I sort of laughed when I read it, and I thought, oh, that's probably true. That's probably right. You just look around the world, you look around the cities, you look around governments, and you look around, the obscene wealth that's doing crazy things, and most of the headlines are concerning broken men, and that just really bothers me. And it bothered me then. It bothers me still. There's very few of us, Mike, that are on the good side of this fight, and so here we are, and I have a survivor on the stage saying, "I needed someone to fight for me." And I thought, I'll fight for you and you and you and you. And I'm see how many good people I can get to fight with me. So in that moment, the book was born, although I didn't know it at that moment. But pretty soon after that, I started thinking, I've been given a backstage pass to this crime, and I've gotten to know a bunch of these survivors, and I know things now, and I've seen things that most men don't know and haven't seen, and I've felt a responsibility to communicate that man to man. And there's a lot of women that have read the book and are loving it. You don't, it's not for men only, but it definitely, my male voice comes through talking to men. And we have a number of amazing survivors that are telling their stories and bringing it to life. And so that was about year three of Saving Innocence. And it took about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I mean, we weren't in a hurry. It was morphing and marinating and tweaking along the way. And plus, I had a day job and a family and everything else. I couldn't just, write a book and pump it out in 2 months. It took a while. I
Yeah,
wasn't in any
it's
hurry.
time consuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about something as you were sharing, and Mike and I just had this conversation. It had to be last night or the night before. And I said, this is just so horrible. And I said, it's going to take an army of men to make a difference in this arena. We need more men to step into this and to
Yeah.
fight this battle. And as he said, he's a bookaholic, right? So that was part of his Christmas list. And I actually purchased that book for him. And at the time, I think right after you started reading that book, we were doing like a home Bible study. And two of the gals that were coming to our Bible study are survivors.
Mm.
And for some reason, I think we got off on this topic. It was probably part of the prayer request time as we were praying for one another. And so Mike started sharing a little bit about this book and about you and how he was planning to reach out to you and wants to be involved and really fighting for this cause and fighting for the women that are, and men too. I mean, little boys are getting trafficked. Unfortunately, that's on the rise. But he brought your book out, and literally, as one of the survivors saw the title of this book, just she teared up and just some tears just trickled down her face, she said. And it was almost like she just paused and took a deep breath and she said, yes, we need men to
Yeah.
stand up and to rise up and to fight this battle. So,
That's sweet.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's funny when I talk to, men about this, like you said, is this Thailand or where, they're not aware of what's going on and that it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the majority of the buyers are here in the United States of America, let's face it. Statistically, the majority of buyers are here, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah.
It's true.
yeah. So people are very surprised, the guys are very surprised that it's, actually going on. And another thing they don't realize that I was going to mention, so I want to talk about the buyer, the seller, the victim, but they don't realize that looking at pornography,
Right.
you're looking at victims. You're looking at someone's daughter, someone's granddaughter who's a victim.
Yeah.
And they don't have any idea. So
Yeah, as you remember, Mike, I did address that in the book, and part of my goal with men is to enlarge the definition. We're not necessarily only talking about quote human trafficking. It's a tiny percentage of men everywhere that are actually going down that path and paying money and spending time in a hotel or a car with a girl. They're not. Most people aren't doing that, but most men are contributing to the exploitive culture, into the soil that human trafficking grows out of. And so pornography is one of those things. The statistics are huge for men that are regularly consuming pornography. And if they don't understand, I don't think they understand. I don't think they want to understand that most of the people on the screen in pornography don't want to be there. It's non-consensual sex. They're monetizing non-consensual sexual activity, and we know what the word is for that. I don't want to get you banned from the whoever monitors this stuff, but it's like, guys, can you even do that one more time, knowing that they don't want to be there? We quote a young survivor in the book that had said, "I was trafficked into the the room. They turned on the video cameras. And she said I was raped over and over and over again. And every time someone watches it, they're watching that. And it's like, guys, you're monetizing exploitation and trafficking. You're monetizing somebody else's trauma and pain. We just That's one of the things we just have to stop. Men have to just stop. You're done now. Don't do this anymore. Not one more time.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
We were at it was a trafficking, it was a conference. They were talking about some of these things, and they had different speakers on, and a guy they had coming on video. He said, I know I'm going to have some haters. You guys might want to kill me, punch me in the face, whatever, but I was a buyer.
Mhm.
So he talked about like the roots of that, where that, how did you ever, and he said it started with pornography.
Yeah.
And the monster, you couldn't tame the monster, you had to kill it. He didn't know that. So it grew and grew,
Yeah.
and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. And part
Yeah.
of what we're doing here as a ministry is we're trying to help people deal with root cause, no matter what it is that they're acting out and doing. There are root causes to that. So it's like, okay, yeah, you need to stop. That's the first step. But now, in order to maintain that stop, let's figure out what in the world is going on with you that led you down this path and you became an addict, basically. And so that's a lot of what we're trying to do. Everything from the physiological piece, and then the soul, the mental and emotional piece to this, and then the spiritual piece. I'm telling you, with sexual deviation, I mean, deviant behavior, that's a spiritual issue. There are, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it or what you think about demons, but they are real and they are prevalent in this arena, as well as drugs and alcohol. It's an open invitation. And so some things that you hear, I mean, believe me, I'm working with survivors. I know the stories. I know what's in your book. I know the things that you've heard. And you listen to that and you hear that, you're like, there is no way that can't be outside of evil. It is evil, evil,
Yeah.
evil, and demonic presence all over it. Not to say that human beings can't do bad things, because we do. We have a sinful nature. But I'll tell you, Satan's tentacles is through it all. He's destroying people's lives.
Well, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and
There you
nowhere do
go.
we see it more than in this space. And I preached at a church last weekend in 3 services and challenged the church. We need you, church. This is pure evil. This has been the devil's playground, and our battle is not against flesh and blood. Our battle is in the unseen places. We need the church to engage in a powerful way because
Amen.
there are things that we have been involved with that I have known about that would never make it into the book, and I wouldn't repeat them here, that would absolutely underline this is pure evil. And
Yes,
we have to treat it as such.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's kind of another underlying root thing that, not to go on the other side of this, but with the buyer, the seller, and the victim is the early wounds that happen, the father wound, especially fatherless homes. And there seems to be, everybody I've talked to anyway, there's some sort of wound that happened there that left them vulnerable. And I think that's a huge
Yeah.
piece right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Healing has to happen on all sides. Every one of those persons that you mentioned, they all need healing.
Right.
No doubt about it.
And working with like the buyer piece of it, like when getting these men when they're boys, so that they don't go down that route, is another key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
they
is
say
being
the
done?
average age of first exposure to pornography is 8 or 9 years old or something like that. That's the average age of first time, somebody sees it somehow. And
Yeah.
so you just imagine that's rewiring a brain that isn't even finished developing yet, and an emotion, and the way that you see the world, the way you see yourself, the way you see women, the way you see sex, the way you see God. Your entire trajectory is now going in a different direction. And without a strong male figure in that little boy's life, keeping the guardrails up and protecting him from himself and the world, it goes unchecked oftentimes. And suddenly the mentor in that young boy's life is the filth that's coming over and the music that people are, recording and
Yes,
all those kinds
wow,
of things. It's just
yeah.
reinforcing this destructive, painful, traumatic, exploitive culture that our kids are growing up in. And so, in the anti-trafficking, there's so many different ways to look at it, and we do talk about it in the book and offer a bunch of different things from the macro to the micro. And so yeah, we can get different laws in place, and we can put more resources as a society into anti-trafficking work and get better technology. We can do all those things, but I think that the biggest and most effective, although it's going to be a little slower, is one dad at a time re-engaging with his family and look in the mirror, men, and see what kind of man you want to be. Is this the man that you want? Is this the man that you want your daughter to grow up and marry? Are you living a life that is going to be the kind of man that you want your daughter to marry, that you want your son to become? Chances are, if you're honest, maybe not. And so I'm challenging men to start with being a great husband and start with being a great dad to your sons and your daughters. And then get a few dads around and maybe get this book and have a little book club and read it and talk about it. And if we can just sort of grow kind of a grassroots men re-engaging in their community and their family, giving leadership to their family, giving leadership to their other guys that they know that at work or friends of theirs, and we will just make giant bounds, leaps and bounds in every community if we can just do that. And then let's work on the bigger picture at the same time.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's it. That's the way it has to be done because it's got to be a heart change. It's one life at a time, heart change.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying, like about the church needs to get involved and I agree with that wholeheartedly. And one of the things that grieves our heart, and we've talked about this many, many times, is just really the lack of overall discipleship in our churches. It just hasn't been happening. People go to an event. I don't even want to call it church because sometimes it just feels like an event. And I look at church in the book of Acts and it just feels more like a family. It's a living organism. And I think that, it's like, okay, check the box, say the prayer, I'm saved, I have my ticket to heaven. And yet there's nobody walking with them to teach them how to dig into the word, how to apply the word, how to live their lives and to equip them with the tools that they need in order to become healthy and whole. And it's just not been happening. So it's no wonder, things are just such a mess. And love the church, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's the bride of Christ, but man, it is a mess right now. And so that I think we need to see a shift there. And I think there are some things happening in that regard, which is good. And then, I love that, your mindset is okay, one life at a time, one man at a time. Let's walk alongside you and let's build this army that comes out of a place of healthiness, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, I know you've met with traffickers, right? You met with the,
Yeah.
yeah. Now
Wow.
what
Okay.
was,
Yeah.
what was that experience like for you? What did that do to your heart?
Yeah, yeah, it was interesting when I was in writing the book. I asked a couple of folks that were kind of in the work, "Hey, is there any chance like a former trafficker that that wouldn't mind talking to me?" And I love that find out his perspective. And so yeah, there's a gentleman that's out of San Diego that is a former trafficker. He's now out doing his best to do the good side of stuff with kids, but he spent his time trafficking girls. And I write about it in the book and kind of record the interview that I had with him. And it was really interesting. It was challenging. Is when we sat down, the very first thing that came out of his mouth was, "I'm not evil, and I wasn't when I was in the game." I said, "Wow, okay, well, hi, how are you? My name's Alan." I mean, there was no small talk. He just went right to that, and I thought, well, that's fascinating. Tell me why you say that. And so we had a really interesting conversation, I'm driving home and I'm calling my pastor. Hey, I leave a voice message. Is it possible to do evil things and not be evil? Like, give me some theology here. Like, what's going on here? I'm challenged, and
Yeah.
it was interesting because I drove away thinking, okay, uh, I I came to this meeting thinking the absolute worst of traffickers, And now there's a name and a face and a story. And he told me his childhood full of abuse, an addicted mother, dad in prison, sleeping in a car, and the older boys in the neighborhood, were down a certain path. And as he is a young boy, that's really the only thing he saw. And I'm not making excuses for him or others that are making those choices, but I walked away thinking, okay, I can kind of see it. The same conditions which produce the victim are producing the traffickers. And
Right.
poverty, trauma, fatherlessness, all these things. It's the same conditions that are producing the vulnerabilities, and they go down their path. And I thought, okay, now I'm not sure what to do with this because uh, I, this guy has a name and a face and a story, and I got to figure out what to do with it. And it was good to get that perspective. It was good for me. Yeah,
Yeah, that's hard. What do you do with it? Because our initial response is, I want to get rid of this evil guy.
yeah,
But he
right.
has a story too. It's a hard line there, a fine line. Um,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, Jesus died for him too,
yeah,
and I got to deal with that. I'd like to put those guys in jail for a long, long time, and justice would say that that's true. They should go to jail for a long time for their crimes and their all that. I think it's just a challenge. If we're going to take our faith seriously, we have to consider what that means and how we think about all that stuff. And I don't know that I have the perfect answer.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's a tough one. And I always try to go back to, the Apostle Paul and just the kind of person that he was, prior to Jesus. I mean, he was, having Christians murdered, and I mean, he was an evil man. He was. And, once the Lord got a hold of his heart, then and the transformation that happened there and what God did with his life. And now, okay, we read the New Testament, and he wrote the majority of the New Testament. And
Yeah.
look at the life that he lived and the impact, so it's like, okay, no one is beyond God's reach. We should never lose sight of that. But at the same time, we don't wink at things that are going on just for the sake of, well, we know you're a broken person, so we understand that. Well, no, there's always going to be consequences, and God is a just God, and there's typically payment for that. Of course, Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice for all of us and our failings and our sins. Um, but yeah, I mean, just to hear that story particular, that one in particular that you're talking about, and it's like, okay, a name, a face, and now what you're seeing from the sounds of it, he's actually trying to make an impact, positive impact. And so that's where, Romans 8:28, right? It's like God's bringing good out of something that just seemed like it
Yeah.
was pure evil, just horrendous. And, we have a story. I have a story. Believe me, there were times when I thought, I don't deserve God's forgiveness. And I certainly don't deserve other people's forgiveness because of the things that I did. So I get that. Um, but it doesn't mean that we don't, stand for truth and we fight,
Yeah.
fight for me. We're going to fight and we're going to
Yeah.
get you attention. And yeah, you know what? You may end up in prison for a lifetime. That's part of the consequence of the choices that you made. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry that all this happened, and I can have compassion for you. It's like we I think sometimes get this mindset it's either or. Well, no, it's a both and. I can have compassion for you and still want justice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What is, like speaking of the fight, what does that look like now with the technology just
Yeah.
expanding every day? I mean, that has to be a whole other battle going on.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations that are really developing anti-trafficking technology and the facial recognition stuff that's happening and all of that. So I'm probably not super current on the nuances of it, other than it's the technology, like anything, is used for bad and for good. So, just the social media and the internet stuff just put gasoline on a bonfire in terms of,
So true.
availability, ease of access of vulnerable people and all those kinds of things. And I know there's a lot of battles going on, a lot of good work is being done. I actually had a Zoom meeting with a a company, a group in Switzerland, of all places. And this group is basically like with all the AI stuff that's just kind of exploding over this last year or so. They're developing tools within the AI world to fight anti-trafficking and other things like that, and just kind of the worldwide data availability, and now that how what they're creating the tools that can immediately identify criminals wherever they are and all that kind of stuff. So there's probably more good things coming that'll be released pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, that's good because I know the alluring part of the kids with everybody has their phone in their hand all the time, so it's just there
Yeah,
constantly, and the algorithms are
yeah,
custom made just for you and
yeah.
you push.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gosh, right.
yeah.
Mhm.
So as far as let's start with the men. Like, what can men do? I know some men want to get involved. I know when I first heard about this, I had two things came to mind. I want to bust down some doors,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
the other
He
part
did, yeah.
was as
Mhm.
a life coach, counselor, I want to do some aftercare.
Mhm.
So I know that's another piece that maybe I kind of felt like, how can men even get into the aftercare part because they don't trust men, of course,
Right.
after all this. But yeah, what can men do? Maybe three, four, five things that men can do to
Yeah.
get in the game.
Well, and humbly speaking, I'd say get the book, and it's on a little website called fightforme.net, and there's biographies of the various contributors and other resources that are there. There's other books by some of the survivors that they've written. There's links to their books. So I'd start there. In fact, some guy that I spoke at church last week, he said, "I want to get involved. What do I do?" I said, "Job number one," I gave him the website. Read or listen to this book. It's also an audio version, and then let me know when you're done with that. So I'd start there because we got to have a little bit of education. You don't need to go back to school and get a degree in human trafficking or something like that, but get a little bit educated. We don't need a bunch of strong men out running around not being aware of some of the nuances and some of the basicness of it. That'll be hurtful, not helpful. So guys, get a little educated. Start with the book and go down the rabbit hole on Google and just watch some documentaries, watch some things, read some things. And now when it comes time to getting involved, what I would say this is wherever you are, wherever you're listening or watching this, go to Google anti-human trafficking agency near me and find out who's near you, who's in your city or your state. Go to their website and become familiar with the people that are on the ground doing the work, and then see what they need. Send somebody an email. Hey, what do you need? I'd like to be helpful. What would be helpful to you? And like for in our case of Saving Innocence, we have a big Christmas open house party, and we gather gifts for all of our clients, and so people can gather gifts at Christmas time or whatever it is during the year that's happening. There's tangible needs. I would say to guys or anyone, but if you're asking about guys, what can guys do? I'd turn it around and say, I don't know, what can you do? Like, who do you know? What do you know? What's your skill? What's your education? You could certainly make a donation to the anti-trafficking organization near you. If you could probably become a donor. That'd be helpful. But
Yeah,
the presence, your presence in that space will be protected. But once you gain enough trust by the people in charge, your very presence, even if it seems like you're not accomplishing that much, will be healing because not only the survivors who are coming out of their trauma, but many of the staff have been through things, and a lot of the perpetrators look like us guys. So the simple fact that you show up and have no intentions of harming anyone will begin to reshape their interpretation of life, their interpretation of who God is, of who men are. That'll be valuable. And then on top of that, if you're a graphic designer, you have those skills like, a lot of people do. Find the organization near you and ask what they need. If somebody watching this might be good at making little videos, I bet they could use a little promotional video. Like find some practical way that you could get involved based on what the needs are, and then do that.
yeah,
Get off the
very
couch, guys. Get off the couch.
good. Get
Turn
off
off
the
the
couch.
internet. The
Yes,
filth that's coming inundated with. Get off the couch and get involved and do something. Do
right.
anything. Do something in anti-trafficking. Find an organization, see what they need. If you can't find one, go to savinginnocence.org. We're in Los Angeles. Doesn't matter. You can help us from wherever you are, but you might find a place that's in your city. I know there's groups in Florida. If a lot of
Oh,
your folks
yes,
probably
yeah.
there. So I
Mhm.
mean, if you're on social media, follow the group social media. You could, just basic stuff. Just be part of the conversation. You could reshare and retweet and all that kind of stuff. Get on their newsletter. Next time you go to the store, find out how many staff are in the organization near you that you're going to kind of try to befriend. If there's 5 staff or 10 staff or 20 staff. And the next time you're grocery shopping, go to the place where all the gift cards are and throw in $5 Starbucks gift cards for everyone on their staff. Send them in the mail. Get the address off their website and say, we're just cheering you on out here. Thanks for the good work you're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's simple. Everybody that just heard that
yes.
can do that. Everybody can do that. Start
Mhm.
there. Start with some little thing and let it grow and let it get big.
I love
Yeah,
that, and I love that
absolutely.
you're giving all these practical ideas for people and individuals that are in the Southwest Florida area. There's like three coalitions that I'm aware of, or two that cover three different counties.
Hmm.
And so we've got connections with multiple ministries and organizations right now that we could get people plugged into if they're in this area. But like you said, you don't even have to be in the area. There's
Right.
so many things that you can do from the comfort of your own home. Just use your gifts,
Yeah.
and invest them in this movement because like I said earlier, it's going to take an army of men and women to make an impact, to get this thing, to stop it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
I would,
Thank you
I
for
would,
that.
I would just
One more,
encourage everyone to start small. Just start with small, little
Yeah,
bite-sized chunks of it.
anything, just
And then,
anything. And
yeah,
I love, you when you said, get the gift cards, give that to the staff or the gift cards, because some of these ministries, they actually give like gas cards and
yeah,
bus passes. They give a variety of different things to the survivors that they're ministering to because
yeah,
many of them,
yeah,
they don't have decent jobs. Believe me, some of them have been caught up in this and stuck and trapped for many, many years. Now it's like, okay, get a job, find a place to live. No, they need help. They need support.
yeah,
So even like we have an organization here, and the survivors will come once a week. So they'll do, and this is part of what I do, kind of like a group therapy thing with also giving them life skills. And they usually give them free hygiene products. They give them some gift cards for gas. I mean, they're really
yeah,
trying to be supportive to the survivors. So
yeah,
we can all do something.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
yeah, and those encouragements are so important. I think people can get, and this can happen in addictions too, that they can feel like a project that needs to be fixed instead of a
Yeah.
human being.
No.
So those
Love
yeah.
them.
encouragements, help out so much.
Yeah.
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 One
So
more
good.
thing, what are some of the things that anybody can do when they're out and about? Like, what can they look for as
Oh,
far as
yeah.
signs? Maybe something's going on.
Yeah, there is a chapter in the book entitled "The Victims," and we actually did hesitate. Should we say victims? That's not necessarily a word that is empowering to those that are impacted by it. At the same time, especially for minors, someone is doing something to them. They're by definition a victim, but so we want to make that distinction. And so, yeah, once we get a little more educated and read a book or two and kind of see what's going on, it's like that's the next thing. If it's all around, where is it? What does it look like? And there's a list of things in the book that will kind of be warning signs of someone that's being trafficked. And the short story is usually there's a slightly older, uh, domineering male who is in control of the person of his victim, of the person that he is asserting ownership over, and she's not allowed to really talk back. She's not really allowed to maybe even look at him exactly, in an equal kind of a way. He'll oftentimes mark her, brand her in the form of tattoos in a visible way, signifying whose property she is. Some kind of a nickname, some kind of a dollar sign, some kind of a something or other, maybe on her neck, even on her face, other parts of her body. Maybe so. There's going to be some tattoos, most likely, and they won't even necessarily in public be together that often, because he keeps his distance in that way. Um, if we're just looking at a young girl, it would be a boy too, but most of them are young girls. She's probably looking a little malnutrition, probably doesn't like she's not eating well. maybe not sleeping well. She may still be enrolled in school, but she's not doing well in school if she is enrolled because she's missing so much. Maybe she is still going to school and keeping that a little bit in shape, but she's not a good student in that way because she's not available. She's probably tired. She's probably maybe some bruises. It's a violent lifestyle. So if you all those things add up, maybe there's some maybe it's not a cute butterfly that maybe a lot of girls would get or something like that. It's some kind of a you know some kind of a tattoo that doesn't look like it fits her. She's looking a little malnutrition, looking a little tired. Maybe there's some bruising. Um, those are just some visible signs that you could just be aware of. And we wouldn't recommend to the public to intervene in that moment because the trafficker is going to then assume that the victim is calling for help and instigating you coming in, even though that she didn't necessarily, and that would be bad for her. There would be penalties to pay that she's not allowed to do that, and it could be really really bad for her. So unintentionally, you could cause her to get beaten, tortured, or killed, even. Um, so the old if you see something, say something. I would just call 911 and just say, listen, I
Yeah,
have a
it's
situation
important.
here. You got to be
Yeah.
careful because you don't want to. There may be a knucklehead dad who's not treating his daughter very nice, but he's not trafficking her. So you don't want to just call 911 on anybody. But if you really sincerely believe there's an issue, I'd call and say this is what I'm seeing, and the law enforcement will do whatever they do.
Yeah,
That's
and
good
like,
advice.
and some of those signs as well, I think, within our families, the daughter, not doing good at school, being, separated, don't want to do anything, there's some things to look at as well
Yeah.
in our own families that maybe going,
Well, yeah, because we know the story in Michigan. There's a gal who started an organization called SOAP. And her story was she was being trafficked out of her own home. And
Hmm.
they used video footage and pictures and everything just to basically blackmail her. And she was doing everything that they were telling her to do. And they would come and, get her in the middle of the night and, they would traffic her and bring her back home. And she was a mess, just a mess. But they
Yeah.
did not know. And they missed a lot of the signs. Well, thankfully, um, the whole thing got blew up because they got busted at a motel, I think in Ohio somewhere, and she was rescued as a result of that. But now she does this ministry called SOAP, and they get together and they put the emergency phone number on those little tiny soaps that end up in the motels because she said the only time that you're ever alone is in the bathroom.
Hmm.
So hopefully, those little girls or even the women, they get that memorized. And if they ever have an opportunity to get to a phone, they can
Yeah.
call. So
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's a really good tool. I mean, they especially like in Michigan and the Detroit area, like when they have, what is it?
auto show.
Yeah, the auto show and all of these big events, and those are big trafficking times. And they go around, they get all the stickers, they go around and they pass out all of those soaps, and they've actually, rescued some women as a result of that. Thank God. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this
Yes,
is
thank
such
you.
I'd like to do a part two to dig in more to some of the stories. The stories in here are incredible. And with that audio book, you had some of the actual women do the audio, correct?
Yeah, I mean, just a brief commercial for that. So, in the process of writing the book, a couple of the survivors that are in the book, they have their books and they have their audio version, which they are the voice of telling their story. And so I listened to their books, and it was so powerful, partly because I knew them, but just to hear them, it's not just some actor, some voice actor, just reading somebody else's words. It was the people. They were actually reading their story in their voice. It's like, oh wow, that's incredible. And I thought, well, what if we got everybody together that was in this book and created an audio version? I had a friend that kind of just donated his time to engineer it all and got into a studio. I mean, it took a couple years because people were scattered around and we're just doing one at a time. But there's the survivors plus a lot of other professionals plus a lot of men at the end of the book. I have men talking about their definition of authentic masculinity, and a lot of those guys are in there voicing their own words and the survivors and a little bit of subtle sound effects along the way. We're really proud of it. It really turned out really well. So, If you're driving distances or going on walks or whatever, get the audio version. It's everywhere you can get an audiobook, Audible and all the other places. And it's really, really powerful because it's the actual survivors telling their words in their voice, along with other people that are professionals that are in the book too.
Can they get that information then from your website, the
Yeah,
fightforme.net?
fightforme.net. Yeah.
So
Then there's
all
a
of
little,
that's, so
yeah,
there's part of your website there. Okay,
yes,
good. We'll make sure that we put that in the comments and,
great.
yeah,
Yeah, and there's so much more. So I just thank you for taking the
yeah,
time
thank
today,
you.
not only for what you do, but for who you are, because I think what you do is a reflection of your heart. It's been such a blessing to me, the
Mhm.
book, you as a friend. So thank you very much. I'm gonna put this up one more time. Get this book.
Yes.
It's a game
that's
changer.
right for me.
Guys and
Yes.
everyone, we need to know about this. It's everywhere. So
Yeah.
thank you again.
Yeah,
Appreciate
well,
it.
we always like to close our podcast in prayer. We don't see that enough. I don't think so. Mike, why don't you close us out in prayer and
Oh, thank you, Father. Thank you for men like Alan. Thank you. We all need to step up to this evil that's all around us, and we just thank you. Now we have the information out there, and so I pray we can act on it. And I just pray for what he's doing for saving innocence, Lord, that what they do will go viral. There will be a worldwide alert to this. There will be protection over the ministry, protection over Alan and his family. We just thank you for that. Thank you that we get to take part in your work against the evils of this world. So we'll stand strong, stand on your word, and give you praise in Jesus' name.
in
Amen.
Jesus' name,
Amen.
amen.
Well, thanks for having me. I'll come back anytime you invite me.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful. And
Okay.
for everyone that's listening, we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Real Room.
Take care.